Hello, everybody. Hello, Rik. Welcome here to Comarch offices. Good to see you.
Thank you.
We wanted to talk today about banking for professionals and SMEs. Tell us why.
Well, typically the SME market is known for being very expensive to serve because they have all these specialties, etc. And on the other hand, they're often too small to be lucrative. It's one of the reasons why they often were considered underserved. And over the past few years, there's been a huge transformation in the SME market because neobanks, fintech companies started to use the opportunities of technology to build new solutions at a lower cost, creating a lot more competition in the SME segment. And yeah, I can imagine that in Belgium, that's not any different. And I'm told that you are quite an expert in that field.
No, indeed, it's not different. And as you say, it is a market which is fundamentally difficult to serve. You have, on one hand, high expectations, and on the other hand, lower returns than in corporate market. And what doesn't help either, I think, is that in organizational structures of banks, professionals and small businesses, they're often attached to the retail unit, which makes that at the end, probably they're not getting a lot of focus, maybe ambition or capacity are lacking to deliver a strong vision for this segment. And as a result, as you say, we see a lot of SMEs turning towards fintechs, neobanks for daily management of their company. Accounts, transactions, payables and receivables, because those companies, they offer those basics in a brilliant way for a low cost, almost in real time, with very smooth client onboarding, etc. But when it comes to financing and loans, I think that banks are still well positioned and they're still considered a natural source of funding for SMEs.
Probably, yeah, I can imagine that, traditional banks, they're very strong in risk management, building that skill set to do credit scoring, etc. And of course, as intermediators, financial intermediators, they are, of course, much better positioned to serve those customers at a moment that these people have to make very important investment decisions and prefer to speak with an expert rather than looking for the right solution in a mobile app. So
Exactly.
I can imagine. At our conference in May 2022, you shared that 40% of Belgian SMEs are considered switching their main financial providers. What's the main reason for that? Because it's quite an astonishing number.
It is, but I think the main reason is that SMEs are looking for more responsiveness, more convenience, and also for an organization that understands their business needs. And the estimations that we have right now is that currently in Belgium, the number of companies that consider switching to fintechs or SMEs or already using neobanks or fintechs as their financial services provider is somewhere in the range of 20 to 30%. But the evolution for those alternative players is very positive because they can offer precisely what SMEs are looking for. And what I find really interesting here is that physical presence or branches is actually considered one of the least important factors when selecting a financial provider for a small business. And on the other hand, responsiveness in the large sense comes as one of the top factors. And by responsiveness, I mean it in a very large sense. So the ability to respond, to give a solution, to give an answer to the client for any problem or inquiry in any channel that the customer himself uses to contact the bank. And the more complex is the organizational structure, the more people might need to get involved to provide that answer, the more departments might need to get involved, and by consequence, the longer it might take to provide a solution. But we do see the traditional banks trying to adapt, trying to follow this high level of services provided by fintechs and neobanks. And I think we're also at a turning point where a lot of incumbent banks, they need to take a decision whether they invest strategically in a dedicated offering for small businesses and professionals and try to gain market share there, or maybe they need to concentrate their efforts elsewhere.
Yeah, what I hear from this is that banks that are serious about the SME market are also the ones that try to embed non-banking services in their offering. banks that are serious about serving the SME clients, what would be the very concrete tips and tricks that you can give them?
Well, actually, I think that the competition between banks and fintechs, specifically in the SME space, is not a direct one who will have the best cash management or the best lending proposition, but rather the competition to create the best ecosystem with the necessary set of services that are in high demand for professionals, in entrepreneurs, liberal professionals, SMEs, so yeah, all segments of SMEs and professional banking. And that implies building partnerships, that implies switching to a platform approach. And why not, as you mentioned it, SME space is a perfect one to experiment with embedded finance.
No, I can. Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about embedded finance, there are different layers, of course, but very often it's about adding bank products in the SME platform, very often in e-commerce space, to ensure that these clients can be served better or through integration of payment methods and alternative payment methods like buy now, pay later to facilitate more consumption on the platform. And very often in the SME space, when you talk about B2B, for example, it can go to that level where you're going to have like more technical investment decisions that, thanks to AI and smart credit scoring, can be given real-time and instant by embedding banking products in an SME platform.
Exactly.
So absolutely right. Competition in the SME space, as we discussed, requires banks to reduce complexity to be able to deal with these clients in a timely manner. Now, looking at that complexity, are banks ready today with onboarding these clients at speed and, for example, also answering applications for loans in a timely manner? I'm going to have to do that again, I think. Okay. Competition in the SME space requires a reduction of cost, and that implies reducing complexity in, for example, onboarding SME clients. Do banks have an answer in bringing easy, seamless solutions in onboarding these clients? And, for example, at a later stage, to help them in applying for a loan?
Well, yeah, indeed. Maybe let's look at it from the lending perspective, because here the situation, I would say, is slightly different, because the number of companies that turn towards and fintechs and neobanks for a loan request is still significantly lower than the ones that go to their traditional provider, so a bank. So the dominance of the traditional sector is still very strong. But the answer to your question, I think, of course, will depend a lot on the institution, and it will vary a lot. But the common challenge, I would say, is the ability to strike the right balance between ability to deliver a quick answer, so speed to decision, and flexibility to accommodate the largest number of possible client requests. Because you can reduce drastically the processing time for relatively standard cases by using automation, by using data, etc. But not losing flexibility in the process, for me, remains a point to be addressed. And from the technological point of view, well, Comarch is a technology company, so I'm tempted to talk a little bit about that. There are not so many software packages out there on the market designed specifically for professionals and SMEs that are both mature in features and modern in their architecture style to address specifically that point. And this is where we as Comarch, we can help our clients. It's to build this technological foundation for an SME loan origination process, which enables easy integration with fintechs, using of external data, allowing business users to experiment with process parameters, with flows, etc., allowing contextual offers in the digital journey to the customers, and many more. And why those foundations are important, I think, it's basically to gain in agility. And for example, now we are talking about adding ESG data to the decision flow. This is one factor, but probably in the future, more factors will come into play, and the ability to adapt quickly to changing customer needs into the new regulation will be crucial.
Yeah, at the end, it's all about risk management and using technology for that means. After all, that's what banking is for. And sustainable finance is adding more complexity yet again.
Of course.
On the agenda of risk management in the future of SME lending. How do you look at this? Because clearly the industry is moving to being a lot more conscious when it comes to sustainable finance, and we can expect a lot more, not only reporting of sustainability risks of SME loans, but also guiding SMEs to a more sustainable future.
Yes, but I think it's only starting. In general, green finance is only starting, and early adopters, they try to seize the opportunity, especially, as you say, keeping in mind the importance that sustainability has in the society in general and in business in particular. But of course, there is a very long way to go still, both in guiding the customers, also in incorporating all of the ESG related data in credit risk models, but also what's very important in training the lending team employees to handle properly this kind of files that are new to them and are new to banking in general. And also, of course, the regulatory framework is a strong regulatory framework is missing, and in the lack of a comprehensive, harmonized approach, there is a significant risk that banks will need to fall back on manual procedures to handle this kind of files.
Banks that are eager to capture more of the SME market absolutely need to invest in adding more services on their bank platform, because SMEs, they got used to what they get as a consumer very often, and that is a lot more services, and they expect that also from the business, forgetting how complex that environment can be. To what extent are banks sufficiently dealing with the challenge of integrating new fintech and other solutions in their platform on the one hand, and open to give control or to give control to the customer in sharing data that is managed on third-party platforms to facilitate their financial management?
Yes, I would say globally it is a big trend. And if you put yourself in the shoes of an entrepreneur, a liberal profession, a small business, they have to deal with everything by themselves without a large finance and accounting department behind. So, of course, the potential to improve and to give them a better customer experience by adding services is huge. And those small businesses, they have, of course, a lot of needs that are embedded in their daily activities, and that can be also addressed via a platform organized by their financial institution. And those needs, they go from, for example, payroll management to hosting their e-commerce website, or why not a white label loyalty program. There are a lot of options, a lot of opportunities. And yes, here in Belgium, we start seeing first examples. And I would say they are mainly related to accounting, business analytics, so features that are very close to financial flows. But it is still very far from the holistic approach offered by some fintechs, where small business can find pretty much anything that they need, from banking to financing, non-financial services, software, hardware, and everything in the packages that are already adapted to their specific industry. Retail, professional services, or others. So yes, the potential to create a strong offering on the Belgian market dedicated to SMEs is still largely untapped.
Really, really interesting. Thanks for the conversation. I think we learned a lot in this interview, and I believe that the evolution of what we see today in the SME market is far from over. If you're looking back at what we discussed here today, on the one hand, you see that banks will need to invest a lot more in automation, making sure that all the specificities of different SMEs can be tackled in an automated way to reduce costs on the one hand. That's the advantage for the bank. But on the other, they will also need to provide a lot more services so these SMEs can give more choice to the customer to interact with them in terms of financial needs, purchasing decisions, etc. Think about the e-commerce platforms, buy now, pay later. But also towards society in the coming years, we probably see a big movement to making sure that financial institutions can help these SMEs in contributing to a greener society on the one hand, but they will also need to help the SME understand that more data, more information will be required for the bank to comply with the sustainability agenda of tomorrow. So thanks a lot, and it looks like we'll be back soon for another interview, I guess.
Of course. Thank you very much, Rik. See you soon.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.